You only have one life to live, so get the most out of it. On Good Life, Great Life, join me, Brian Highfield, and my guests as we share success stories, habits, mindsets, and lessons learned by successful people. These lessons are not taught in schools, but are critical for getting ahead in life. Whether you want a successful business or career, optimal health, or a lifestyle that most people just dream of, Good Life, Great Life has you covered. After retiring from a successful corporate career in my 40s, I founded multi-million-dollar businesses in the sports and healthcare arenas. Now, I help everyday people maximize their lives and speak regularly at seminars, on podcasts, and radio shows to share principles on the topics of health, wealth, and happiness. Don't let a good life get in the way of a great life. Join me today on Good Life, Great Life. Well, welcome to another episode of Good Life, Great Life. And we have with us today, we have a special entrepreneur. We have Tamara Loehr. So Tamara's from Australia. Welcome to the program, Tamara.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on New Year's Eve. Kind of fun.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Looking forward to a brand new year coming up, especially what's gone on the past couple of years. But let's kick off. Let's start a little bit about your background. I mean, what inspired you to be an entrepreneur, and tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I think I've been an entrepreneur for as long as I can remember, so I don't know anything different really. I graduated university quite young and went straight into a marketing role and hated it. Found it really unethical. Didn't like the work environment, so I decided to go out on my own. So my first, business was, which is still going now, ironically, it was a digital marketing agency. And through that journey, it's interesting, it took me, 10 years to get to $1 million in revenue. And then 2 years later, once I made a pivot, it took me 2 years to get to 10 million. So that a whole hockey stick journey, definitely experienced that on the way through. So yeah, but 25 years as an entrepreneur now giving away my age, but it's been a fun ride, most of it.
So, I mean, you're a successful female entrepreneur. I know there's a lot of women out there looking for something more to have in their life, and they may be considering starting a business, and so what's holding them back, do you think, and what can you say to encourage them to kind of make that leap of faith?
Well, look, I think there's a number of things, and every person's circumstance is different, but when I mentor a lot of women who aspire to take the leap into entrepreneurship, and the main ones that I see is firstly, the lack of capital. Women only get 2% of all capital, so they have to be able to self-fund it, which is not always an option for women. The second one is no guidance, which is why I try and mentor as much as possible, because that's been a big part of my journey, is having somebody who's done it before kind of show you the ropes and support you, because it can be a lonely game if you don't find your tribe of other crazy entrepreneurs. And the third one is fear of failure. We don't like to take humongous risks. I mean, we want to be able to put food on the table and look after our kids, and we tend to put ourselves last. So, having that fear of not being able to, do what we want to do is quite important. So, overcoming those things are really important. But what I do find is, women now are the breadwinners, almost 50% in America and over 50% in Australia. And all that tells me is that they're running somebody else's business. So they are completely capable of doing it. So how do we reduce the barriers like capital and, access to mentorship, all those sorts of things, so that they can take that leap with confidence, and we can get more women into business, because they're exceptionally good at it, because they lead with their head and their heart, and they have natural head-heart coherency. So they make wonderful leaders. They're very empathetic. They understand a customer. They can put themselves in the customer's shoes. So we need more women in business. They tend to also make ethical decisions as well. And when we have the top 3,000 businesses in the world, the top 3,000 doing $2 trillion worth of damage to the environment in a year, I feel the best way to address that is by, using business as a force for good. And part of that is getting more women to take that leap into entrepreneurship. And the ones that are entrepreneurs, getting them to go to that next level so that they're bigger businesses as well. So it's kind of twofold. We need more women starting and more women, growing to a bigger level, because I'm in YPO, which is an average, it's a young president's organization. It's an average turnover of $45 million per member, and it's less than 10% females. So again, not enough women taking that next leap.
And tell us a little bit about your work-life balance, because some people, female or male, I mean, they may be a little hesitant because they're already busy people. And so to take that leap to start a business or to be an entrepreneur may be a little bit scary because of the commitment that's required. I mean, was it always like that for you in building your business? And what is it like now in terms of your work-life balance?
Well, it's funny, I wrote a book on this, and I say that balance is BS. So I don't know anyone who's got that right yet.
Yeah.
So, I went looking for that myself and couldn't find it. And what I found was the best way for me is, it took me a while to get to this point. But once I was, kind of own the company, I kind of get to set the rules as well. So what's great about being an entrepreneur is you can actually do what I call blending. So, let's call out balance first. You've got family and work here, and you're trying to juggle it, and you've got to take from here to here, but there's no self. And self is the most important thing. And, they say on a plane, put your mask on before helping others. So, that's why it's fundamentally flawed, the whole balance thing. So what we want to do is blend everything. So I just naturally did it in my business. I started saying, well, to my team, drop the kids off first and then come to work a little bit later, knock off early so you can go get the kids, and then work a couple of hours at night. And I was very flexible in my approach, but also things that were important. So if I had a board meeting, I would say, and my daughter was, in a rehearsal or playing tennis, mine are very sporty, I would be obviously at the tennis match, not at the board meeting. I would choose that. And the number one thing to stop myself from saying is, I'm sorry, because you're not sorry for being a mother. It's, you're not sorry for being a parent. So I would say to them, I will be at my daughter's tennis match, her finals, rather than racing there and trying to fit it in and being frantic and not present. I would take the time and be there for her, and I would ask for permission to dial in to the board meeting so that I could listen and contribute. And, by doing that and then giving people other permission to put their family first and themselves first, we've got this blended environment. And I was doing that long before COVID hit and everyone started on Zoom. I had the flexibility to do that. And I also granted my team the same flexibility. And that's really important. If you're going to do anything as a leader, I think it's really important that you extend that to your team as well, which is, then they really run the business. I mean, no one gets to over 10 million in revenue, self-made. There's no such thing. It's team-made. And, when you let your team, have the same as what you have, then they run the business, they help, they actually make the business almost their own. And that's really where you can start scaling your business.
That's awesome, because a lot of people, I mean, that's why they want to be an entrepreneur in the first place, is they're seeking that flexibility to be able to do more, to attend their kids' soccer game or sporting events and be there for them as well. So they're really seeking that, and I think we're seeing that with a lot of what's going on in society today with what we call the Great Resignation or the Big Quit. People are leaving these jobs that don't inspire them, looking for something more and having that flexibility. So right now is a very popular time for people to be starting their own business. Are you seeing that as well in Australia?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are evaluating what is their purpose, why they're put on this planet. And, we spend so much time at work. And for me, a lot of people think it's about money, but we're rarely driven by money, especially women. Women are driven by purpose. And if it's, you know, all about numbers and people are just numbers, and their company isn't ethical, if they're not sourcing ethically, if they're not looking after their team members, all of those things, their community, if they're not active in the community, all of those things really kind of make it what's called the corporate grey. And I see that a lot. I see a lot of women who are very capable and have got to a certain position by working very hard and just go, is this it? So, you know, I think it's wonderful that more people are taking the leap into entrepreneurship. It's not as sexy as it looks on the Shark Tank. You know, at the end of the day, it is a lot of hard work. So what we need to do is work smarter, not harder. And you know, it's all about collaboration. So, you know, a lot of people that I meet, you know, your network is your net worth. I'll say, look, you can go it alone or you could partner with this person. And that's what men in business do really well. They're very good at collaborating, deal making. I see that a lot. Women tend to do it on their own. So it's really important that we, you know, have an abundance mentality and look at smarter ways to work together, because 3 of those women might be able to create something a lot bigger, or they could help each other. If we all, you know, work together, we'll be able to create more businesses and get them through that first hump, which is really difficult. You know, that 0 to, you go survival, then payback, then thriving. You know, how do we get through that first couple of years of pain, so that we can get to something that's comfortable, so that we can start scaling that business? That's really important.
Awesome. So what are some traits that a good entrepreneur really has to embrace or has to learn or be born with, if there's such a thing? What are some of the most important traits that are going to get them through those startup years, and to become a truly successful entrepreneur and achieve what they want out of life?
Look, I think the same applies ongoingly. The first one is obviously finding a mentor and a guide. Always so much easier. If you want to know how to do something, go and ask somebody who's done it before.
Yeah.
You know,
Makes sense.
yeah, it's pretty basic, but that's kind of been one of my big things, you know, throughout my career. I've asked for directions, which women are good at. So, you know, the number one thing for me has been mentorship. The second thing is remaining relevant. So, you know, always being mindful that, you know, it's not like investing in property where set and forget. You know, you need to have a constant thirst for learning and keeping on top of what's trending and the new technologies and all sorts of things. So a thirst for learning is really important. And, you know, really understanding your why. That's the thing you need to start with first. You know, what is your why? What are you here to solve? You know, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So, you know, understanding your values, how they align to your business, you know, how are you showing up, what problem are you solving, and why that's important to people and yourself. That's really important as well. Otherwise, you know, it becomes, those hard times make it not worthwhile. If you are very clear on your purpose and your why, you know, you will solve that problem. You will break through that brick wall and then get to the next brick wall and break through that one and just, you know, keep going, because it's bigger than you. It's bigger than, you know, money and, you know, whatever else that, you know, money's important, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it's not a key driver, I find, for a lot of people, especially, you know, being in YPO. I mean, we turn over $9 trillion in America alone, just the members. You know, we're the 4th largest economy in the world as members, and we don't sit around and talk about money. It might seem and look like that from the outside because we have nice cars and nice houses, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how do we solve some of these issues, you know, how do we look after our community better? How do we look after our people better? We've got much bigger conversations at the table. So that tells me that they weren't driven by money either. So, and I kind of like the fact that those are the people who make it in business.
Yeah, and one of my mentors always said, he said, you know, money's not important, but it ranks right up there with oxygen, and it's able to provide things that are important in there. So a lot of people maybe aren't money driven, but they're looking for something that money can provide, or to do good in the world out there. One of the things I always love to say is money in the hands of good people are going to do good things. And as you said before, people are looking for purpose, and being an entrepreneur, I think, gives them a mechanism to serve whatever purpose is important to them, and money is just a vehicle that's going to help them.
Yeah, prosperity and purpose. And, you know, for me, what I think is really exciting is I made a commitment early on in my entrepreneurial journey to embed giving into everything I do as a cost of goods. And what's exciting about that is, like, one of the businesses that I grew to 14 million in 2 years, that was only doing a couple 100,000 when I started in that one. So within 2 years, you know, we embedded giving straight away. And so for every meal that we sold, we, you know, gave a meal. And so to think that, you know, I was doing 40,000 meals a week by the end of that, you know, journey, is pretty cool. So when giving is embedded, it's quite exciting about, you know, how much you can an impact that you can make. And you'll see that we track that on our website, every sale that we have, and you can see that clock up. But interestingly, another mentor, Jeff Hoffman of mine, he's an amazing man. He owned Priceline. He started Priceline and a few other things. And he gave me some interesting advice when I was talking about the whole impact thing. He said, the best thing you can do is grow a profitable business that gives back. So rather than starting your own charity, because if you're an entrepreneur and you know how to solve problems and grow big businesses, that's the best thing that you can do, and make that business net positive. So a great book from Paul Polman, the ex-CEO of Unilever, has just come out. It's called Net Positive. So how does your business give more than it takes? That's what's exciting to me. Rather than me spending time on charity work, it's about me doing what I do best, which is growing great businesses, new business models that give back. So all we with our customers, they all know when they buy one, they support a female founder, and it gives one to the United Nations Sustainability Goals. So buy one, support one, give one. So that gets me out of bed every day, including this conversation this morning.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. So what's next in your life? What's the next chapter? What you know, what are you looking forward to in your business? I mean, you've been successful in growing these multi-million-dollar organizations and these businesses. What's the next phase?
I guess, you know, after 25 years, it's really about legacy and what it is that I want to create. And I'm not doing that alone, of course. I'm very much about business as a force for good. So, you know, Basal, which is my latest project and will be my main project for the next decade or so, is all about, you know, a way of doing business that harnesses the purchasing power of consumers. And, you know, consumers are very conscious, especially in recent years. And, you know, they've forgotten that they have the power. And I'm not sitting around waiting for governments to fix the world's problems. I believe it's business.
Be waiting forever.
And it will be. We've learned that mistake, haven't we? But, you know, consumers feel very helpless, but what they've forgotten is they have the purchasing power to change the world. So, you know, just by using their purchasing power and switching to products and brands that are ethical, that are sourced ethically, you know, that are net positive, that give back, that's how we fix this problem. So for me, Basal is that business model. It is, you know, we are creating that framework of what that looks like, and you don't have to spend extra to do it. It just means you're compromising on other things as an entrepreneur. I don't have a massive marketing budget anymore because, you know, it's going towards highly organic. You know, it costs a lot more to make ethical products, but rather than putting the price up on those, we're making them affordable so that consumers can use their purchasing power. So that's my project. I'm starting with the beauty and wellness sector, which is what I'm in, but we'll see where it goes. You know, it'd be nice to create an ethical Amazon, wouldn't it?
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. Good stuff. So we're running out of time, but how can our audience better connect with you or follow you? What are some resources for them?
Well, I'd actually love to meet you if you're like-minded. We do, I'm a little bit spiritual, so I don't do end of month reports, I do new and full moon gatherings, so if you'd like to come along and to a free gathering, we meditate, we journal on things that are important that we're focusing on. So yeah, you can join a gathering if you go to basal.org/gathering, and you can register there, and I'd love to see you there. And let's work on what your purpose is and what direction you're taking, because where your focus goes, your energy flows. So we'd like to focus every 2 weeks on that.
That sounds great. And we'll put that website and their information along with this podcast so people can easily find that. So our guest has been Tamara Loehr from Australia. She has been an incredible, successful entrepreneur creating multi-million-dollar businesses, and has been sharing some wonderful wisdom with all of us today. So thank you for being with the program, Tamara.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful 22.
Oh, thanks. And you too.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Good Life, Great Life, brought to you by Brian Highfield. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's guests and stories. If you like what you've heard, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts.